Welcome back. Our next hour is with Chugach Alaska Corporation. We're very happy to be partners with them. As you all know, they're an Anska village and Anska Corporation, one of the 13 in the state, and are a major landowner, and a very important cultural I'd say icon in the Sound. When I go out in the Sound, I'm in the rain and the cold and so forth. I'm just so impressed with the people that live out here, have lived out here, and currently live out here and thrive and make this their home. So I'm very happy to introduce Jack Blackwell, the Vice President of Lands and Resources, Katherine Carlton, the Vice President of Anska and Community Affairs at Chugach Alaska Corporation. They're here in person. Patrick Callahan, the Deputy General Counsel for Peninsula Corporation, was going to be here but had a conflict. But we will have his slides on our website after the symposium's over. We're also happy to have Adam Turner, the General Manager of the Chenega Regional Development Group, with us in person, and Brendan Kane, the Vice President and General Counsel of the EAC Corporation, will be with us online. So first, let's start with Jack. Welcome, Jack.
Okay, how's this? Sounds. I think it sounds good. Well, thank you for the opportunity to meet here today. This symposium is always a highlight of the year. It's kind of the kickoff for the busy summer season, and it's great to get together with friends and colleagues and learn some great things about Prince William Sound. I'm excited about this session because we have an opportunity for the three village corporations and the regional native corporation to talk this morning. And we only have an hour, so we won't be able to do a deep dive into some of our items that we're focused on, but we'll be able to give you an update on the some of the issues and projects that the native corporations are working on. So the Chugach people have lived in South Central Alaska for more than 5,000 years, and the land has been a real link to the Chugach culture. The Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act was passed in 1971, and it took a while to get to that point to address the native claims. But just kind of going back in some of our recent history, 1741, Vitus Bering was the first European to discover Alaska. He landed on Kayak Island. The Russians claimed ownership of Alaska under the laws of discovery. However, the law requires two conditions to claim ownership. One is through just war, and two is for giving up the land, and neither of those two occurred. So when the United States acquired Alaska in 1867, the native claims had not been addressed at that point. And it was over 100 years later that they were finally addressed in 71. And that was really the result of a couple of drivers leading up to the native claims were the state of Alaska. Alaska became a state in 1959 and was entitled to land as part of becoming a new state. And then oil discovered on the north slope of Alaska in the late 60s before a pipeline could be built across from the north slope to Tidewater. Over 800 miles, the native claims would have to be addressed. So in 1971, ANCSA was passed, and it basically provided money and land and created these regional corporations and village corporations. And this slide shows the 12 regional corporations. There's over 200 village corporations that were also created as part of ANCSA. And so Chugach Alaska Corporation, again, we're the regional native corporation for the Prince William Sound region. And we have 3 pillars to our mission. And I like to point these out to people because, you know, our corporation, one of the pillars is profitability, but also celebration of heritage. And then the third pillar. We good?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, yeah, no problem. So then the third pillar is ownership of our land. So profitability, heritage, and lands. I point that out because land is so important to the Chugach people that it's spelled out in our mission statement. So our corporation is governed by 9 board of directors. Many of you may know Sherry Beretta. She's been on the board for 25 years and is currently our chairman. The past few years, Josie Hickel, many of you may know Josie. She was our president, and she just retired here this spring. So we're sad to see Josie go, but we know she's will do well in retirement. And so Katherine Carlton is our Vice President of ANCSA and Community Affairs. Katherine is with me here today, and we'll be talking here in a few minutes. Matt Ellis is also joining me here, and he's our Lands and Resource Specialist. And John Johnson, many of you may know John. He's a wealth of knowledge about our cultural program, and has been with Chugach for over 40 years. So together we make up the Lands and Culture and Community team, and we're within Chugach Alaska Corporation. So when you think of Chugach Alaska, we're more than just the land managers. As I mentioned before, one of our priorities or one of our goals in our mission is to be profitable. And so Chugach Alaska Corporation has over 5,000 people throughout the world that work for the corporation in various capacities. We have a commercial holdings company. Is it better if I just stand off to the side maybe, or what's the, closer to the mic? Okay. So we have a commercial holdings company that operates a number of businesses ranging from oil field support, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, electrical, kind of a diverse portfolio. In Prince William Sound, we also operate under Chugach Alaska Services, TCC, which provides oil spill response in the Sound. And then we have Chugach Government Solutions, which oversees a number of federal government contracts. But I point this out because we're a diverse company. ANCSA was passed over 50 years ago, and we have grown and evolved into a large company. We have close to 1 million acres in south central Alaska, which includes 378,000 acres of full fee estate, so surface and subsurface, and then we have 550,000 acres of subsurface as well. The Chugach region spans, there's around 5,000 miles of coastline in this area, and it is situated along the northern Gulf of Alaska from Icy Bay west across the northern Gulf to Prince William Sound, and down the eastern Kenai Peninsula to Lower Cook Inlet. And so for this presentation, we'll focus primarily on the Prince William Sound region. And the dark green in this slide shows the full fee simple lands that we manage, we own. And then the other colors are either land that was originally owned by village corporations, or may still be owned by the village corporations, but it's the areas where we have subsurface estate. So there have been some issues that there's some issues we now have with the subsurface and the surface estate where it's split. So the Native Claims Settlement Act generally split the estate on village corporation lands. And so where the village corporation had the surface, the regional corporations had the subsurface. And so the idea with ANCSA was that the village and regional corporations would work together to develop the subsurface mineral estate. In Prince William Sound, in 1989, we had an oil spill, and the Exxon Valdez Oil Spill Trustee Council was created after the spill, and administered some funding for various projects. And one of the majority of the funding was used to acquire habitat. So it was used for habitat protection, conservation, and some of the village corporations sold their surface estate or kept surface estate in with new conservation easements. And so the surface estate, while it was acquired for habitat purposes, the subsurface can still be developed by the regional corporation, Chugach. And so subsurface is the dominant estate, but it really has ended up with, we're in a situation with where we have this split estate, and in some cases the surface is managed by either the state of Alaska or the federal government. And so in 2019, Congress passed the Dingell Act, which directed the federal government to study and report to Congress on this split estate issue. And so that information, or the report, was called the Chugach Region Land Study, and report was presented to Congress in December of 22. The report studied ownership and use patterns, as well as social and economic impacts, and identified accessible and economically viable federal lands that could potentially be exchanged with Chugach to resolve this split estate. And so the concept was to try to consolidate ownership of the surface estate with the mineral estate. This week, the Alaska Congressional Delegation, you may have seen a news release, but the delegation has introduced a bill that would resolve this split estate issue and allow for a land exchange with Chugach Alaska Corporation and the federal government. So we're very appreciative of our delegation for helping work with Chugach to address this split estate, and we're excited about this new bill that's been introduced. And my last slide here, I just wanted to highlight some of our land management projects that we're working on. In Port Bravina, we are developing the Prince William Sound granite quarry, and this site will be, the rock will be used for large armor stone projects. And so we're very excited about developing this this quarry. But we also issue a number of permits ranging from hunting, ecotourism, material sales, and research. And then recently we have been working on a carbon project and has been working with the California Cap and Trade program, and have sold carbon credits for some of our forested areas. So it's kind of interesting to kind of look back at where Chugach is, how our land management has evolved. When we first started out, we were focused on harvesting timber and selling that timber. And so now we have evolved and are participating in carbon sequestration projects. So it's pretty neat to see that evolution in a fairly short period of time. So with that, I will turn it over to Katherine.
All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Katherine Carlton. I'm Inupiat. I was born in Cordova, Alaska, grew up fishing in Prince William Sound, and I'm a shareholder of Chugach, and I'm happy to serve right now as the Vice President of ANCSA and Community Affairs. Chugach, as Jack said, was formed by ANCSA back in 1971. We were one of the smallest corporations that were formed, second only to Ahtna in the number of shareholders that we had. But despite that, we have quite a large community. So we have 8 communities, we have 5 federally recognized tribes, we have 2 unrecognized tribes, 5 village corporations. We have 4 regional tribal nonprofit organizations that we work with, and then of course we work with the city governments and the boroughs in our areas as well. If we could go back to 1971, I'm pretty sure that nobody at that time ever envisioned what the constellation of services would evolve to now that support the Alaska Native people. And so it's pretty exciting to see all of these organizations that have been formed 50 years after the ANCSA passed. And it really is a very unique model. We constantly have to do education about this to Congress to make sure that we're not unfairly treated and that we maintain our rights as Alaska Native people. And so because of that, we have all of these different organizations and entities that are designed to help make sure that we preserve the self-determination of Alaska Native people. So we have statewide organizations such as Alaska Regional Association and Alaska Village Associations, and they represent the regional corps and the village corps, and they serve as an advocacy mission and also just advocating for the rights of those organizations that belong to them. We have the regional nonprofits. You heard from CIRC this morning. They do a lot of really interesting work, and we partner with them quite a bit. We have Chugach Heritage Foundations. They have a $30 million endowment for education for our shareholders, and we have been able to educate an entire generation of our shareholders, which is pretty amazing. And then we have our tribes and communities, and then, as I talked about earlier, we have the associations that advocate for us on our behalf. So with that entire constellation of organizations, it's really important that we all work together and we make sure that we are headed in the same direction with our priorities. That doesn't always work with all of the organizations. We can't get along all the time, but when we work together, we definitely can make more headway. So every year, Chugach hosts a regional summit where we invite all of our nonprofits, our village corps, our tribes to come and let us know what their priorities are and what's facing their communities. And so we met back in February of this year, and those are the main categories of what they are concerned about. And so then we take those priorities and we figure out how we can work together to solve some of those challenges. And I'll talk a little bit about how Chugach, the regional corporation, does that. So just this past year, we stood up two different organizations. We stood up Chugach Tribal Services, which is a nonprofit. We realized that there were some gaps in services, and so we wanted to be able to fill those gaps, and we did so by creating this nonprofit. Through that nonprofit, we will be able to go after grant funding that we never were able to go after before, and then we have a concept called Village Within a City that we're organizing and setting up in Anchorage. I wanted to talk a little bit about grant funding. So as an example, we have recently submitted for a 5-year grant from the Department of Energy. We're working with the EAC Corporation and the native village of EAC in partnership with Cordova Electric. And this funding is going to allow us to add I think it's about 11 native allotments to the electrical grid in Cordova. So that's really important for our people. It provides them power when they never had it before. And then what we're also doing with the funds is there's a Shepherd Point project going on in Cordova right now. If you live in Cordova, you probably heard of it. So they're building a deep water port out at Shepherd Point, and they're building a road out to there. And so with this grant funding, we're able to use part of the funds to put electricity from Humpback Creek out to Shepherd Point. So those are examples of how we work together with our community and then projects that we can go after with this new nonprofit that we have. And then we have Village Within a City. This is a concept that was driven by our board of directors for probably 20 years. And it's a project that's designed to help the homeless population in Anchorage. Statistically speaking, most of the homeless population in Anchorage is Alaska Native. And so this is a proactive approach to helping with that problem. What we see is that the Alaska Natives that come from the villages often don't have the skills or ability to manage in Anchorage and manage the resources here, and so they end up on the streets and homeless. So the Village Within a City is a concept that we will build a building in Midtown Anchorage, and it will house a bunch of resources in one place so that we can help the natives navigate through resources that will help them be productive and be able to navigate within Anchorage. And so it'll have workforce development, housing resources, referrals to, and how to navigate through the Alaska Native Medical Center. And then we think phase 2 will probably be affordable housing as part of that complex too. So we're pretty excited about that. We received $3 million in funding. So this year we're doing the master site planning for that, and we hope to begin construction next summer actually. And then just one of the other projects that we're working on, Chugach Naswick. That's a partnership between Chugach Alaska Corporation, Titilit Corporation, and Chenega Corporation, who you'll hear from Adam here in just a moment. But we operate a contract for Alyeska in Valdez. We call it TCC, and it does oil spill response. And one of the barriers to that project is hiring people because there's no housing in Valdez. It's a shortage, and so to combat that problem, we have built a 4-story, 37-unit commercial multi-purpose short-term housing facility there. And so we will be able to use that to help staff our contract down there. It's been a great boost for the community. It's helping with their housing problems. So we're really excited. ribbon cutting ceremony is expected to happen in September of this year. So if this works out well, which it has so far, we intend to use this as a model to bring to our other communities that also have housing issues as well. So that is all I have for you. I'm going to turn it over to Adam with Chenega.
Morning, everybody. Thanks for having me. I'm Adam Cherner. I'm with the Chenega Regional Development Group. I'm just going to stick on Chenega Corporation for just a second because it's not actually that exciting. Chenega Corporation is based out of the small village of Chenega, as most of us know, in southwest Prince William Sound. Chenega Corporation is worldwide in all 50 states and has just over 8,000 employees right now. And so I'm the general manager of Chenega Regional Development Group, and what our organization does and represents is the corporation's reinvestment back into Prince William Sound, and more importantly for us, the area that the Chenegan people consider home. So I am going to, I assume that goes like that. So this is how important Chenega Corporation's commitment is to what my group is doing. This is one of 7 strategic goals for the corporation. This is an excerpt right out of our brand new 3-year strategic plan, and I'm going to read this. Support educational, cultural, village, and social programs to positively impact shareholders and descendants. Invest in and support our subsidiary Chenega Regional Development Group and their business plan to improve the village and our surrounding properties, develop economic opportunities in the region, not regions, that was a typo and I apologize, and preserve and document Chenega's culture. So that's basically what our job is, and my job is to direct these efforts. We're doing a lot of things. And I'm just going to focus on a few of them. First, the picture to the left, that's our memorial event they do every year. This year's our 60th event from the loss of life from the '64 earthquake. So that's a picture of quite a bit of the group last year. 5 areas that my group focuses on. The first is economic and business development. So that's all things in the village that relate to ending the outmigration of population and creating economic resources for the Chenegan people to come back into the area. So that's things like we're building a 6-plex right now, as well as investing in some of the business opportunities in the area. We've bought lodges over the years and different things that I'll get into just a little bit later. We take on cultural preservation, which for us is documenting as much as we can from the elders and taking of the oral histories and the language and whatnot that still exists but is rapidly being lost. We have a marine support, so we have a couple boats, which is kind of critical if you have a village out in the middle of Prince William Sound. You got to have a way to get it out of there with the clouds and whatnot that make flight travel difficult. Infrastructure development goes in with economic development, and then we manage the Chenega lands. So each of these areas has basically a functional manager that supports those areas. Today I guess I talked about some other stuff, but today I was going to talk about some specific stuff that might interest this group a little bit more, in lodges and the land and what we're doing with some of it, and then some ideas as it relates to tourism and leveraging some of the lands that we have. So back I think I'm going back 4 or 5 or 6 years. Chenega started to make a push to buy some of the old lodges in Prince William Sound that are geographically, fairly close to the village of Chenega. And some of them were they're all great properties. Some of them were usable and some of them weren't. One of the ones that was usable is the Sawmill Bay Lodge. So that's the lodge that we acquired that was the most ready to go, although now it needs a little bit work. Our plan for the lodge is to use it for, right now we're actually using it for culturally oriented activities, culture camps, fish camps, and whatnot, as well as corporate business support. So we take clients there, some of the executives from our team and whatnot, and hold events for them. We're looking to leverage this facility into a business to business for corporate events or corporate retreats. So as we get into that, keep that in mind. I'll be looking for people to come and stay at the lodge. One of the other lodges that's a little bit closer, it's about halfway between the Chenega and Whittier here, is the Ishami Bay Lodge. So those are some pictures of what the inside of the rooms look like, and we put a new dock there. It's a pretty neat little space. It's actually one of the most beautiful areas in Prince William Sound, in my opinion. But we're also holding cultural camps here. Last year we had a fish camp where we took some of the youth into the camp and showed them what commercial fishing looks like in the area, and try and again do some economic development type work where we're trying to incentivize and show some of the younger Chenegan people what it looks like to live and work in this area. We are looking at possibly opening up as sort of a do-it-yourself hostel style facility where recreational boaters could show up and park their boat and get a room or get a bed, and be a pretty neat spot to open up for some of those recreational boaters who might want a place to stay. So what does the future look like for us, and what are we really doing here? The left hand side is a map that's kind of hard to see, but that's okay. The yellow triangles there, those are the inholdings from the EVOS. We call it the EVOS land deal, but it's basically what Jack was talking about, the lands that were purchased from Chenega and put into conservatorships after the Exxon Valdez oil spill. So each of those yellow triangles represents, I think it's around 5-acre parcels, 1.5 to 5-acre parcels that are options for commercial businesses. And so we're looking at different things to do with these things, all the way from small lodges, all the way scaled down to tent platforms or forest-style cabins that we would lease out or rent out to the general public for use. The purple squares, those are the lodges that we have. So the one all the way up on top is Ishami Bay Lodge. And then the one down to the right, going down, is Thumb Bay on Night Island. And then one is right in the village of Chenega, and that's the Port Benny Lodge. And that's one of the ones that's no longer usable, as is Thumb Bay. And then the one on the bottom is what we call it the Samo Bay Lodge, but it's formerly known, most of the operators know it probably as Jumping Salmon Lodge. So our plan is, we're still sort of figuring out exactly what we want to do, but it all revolves around a business plan and a development plan that's opening up these areas, leveraging our land resources, with the main goal is to provide opportunities for the Chenegan people. One of the neat things that we're working on right now is we're working on a congressional directed funding for establishing the old village of Chenega as a historically, or I think they call it a location of historical significance or something like that, but a federal designation that would preserve the unique identity of the old village and allow us to get continued funding to support important archaeological work there and in a way that we could share with everybody. And then again, invest in ecotourism opportunities in the area, leveraging everything that I just went through. So, thank you.
Then, so we'll take questions now.
We spend a lot of time out in the Sound and would love to hike on some of the Native Corporation and Native Village properties. And we understand you need a permit, but I cannot find anywhere online where we can get a permit to just hike on the properties. So I don't know if anyone is available to answer that kind of a question.
Sure. I'll take a stab at that and maybe hand it over to Adam. But the lands are really important to our shareholders, and so we really encourage people to. I guess I don't need two. Only need one microphone, but. So we really appreciate folks being sensitive of our lands that we own, and ask that if there is interest in using the Chugach corporate lands to please reach out to us and check before you go. And as a general rule, we don't issue permits for like recreational use of our lands, but it's not to say that that's a hard no. We just kind of evaluate each request on a personal basis. As I mentioned, we do issue permits, but there's no primarily to businesses to operate on our lands. Those permits, you can't. We don't have permits available applications online. So contact either myself or Matt, and we can help you out for Chugach. And then Adam, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, we're equally restrictive, especially for overnights. But if people wanted to walk on the land, it's a pretty simple permit that we have. We have I think we call it the Ituya Bay cabin. It's on Evans Island on the other side in Ituya Bay. We have that, and we rent that out to recreational users. I think there's some other points that you can get onto our lands with a simple permit through my group, and so I'm a good contact for that, for day hiking and that kind of activity.
I'll maybe add to that. Are there easements? I understand there are some easements that people can access. Is that correct, or am I?
Sure. Through when ANCSA was passed, there were 17 B easements. In some cases were established. These are access easements. Typically, the access was to federal land across the Native Corporation land. So certain areas, as Paul, as you mentioned, do have easements. Some of those easements have campsites on it, but and the BLM has on their website, they have a real good database of those access easements. So that's maybe another resource for you too.
Yeah, thanks. My question first.
What are Chugach's plans for holdings in and around Whittier?
So we have looked at, so let's back up a little bit. talk about some of the land that we do have near Whittier. Shotgun Cove Road, the road is really a important for our corporation to develop to access our lands at Shotgun Cove. So we have land at Shotgun Cove. We do have some land on the way out to Shotgun Cove. The new road extension, there's a right-of-way through the Chugach land. So at this point, we don't have any firm plans to develop at this time, but we have looked at a range of alternatives for opportunities at Shotgun Cove.
And so we have another question in the audience? Yeah.
I don't know who can best answer this, but I was just curious about the Latouche Island like remediation project and if there was anything happening with the mine sites out there.
Well, that's a great question, and this afternoon there will be representatives from Rio Tinto, their contractor, talking. So I think so. Stay tuned for this afternoon's presentation.
Yeah, good question. There's been a lot of interest in that also. Yeah, Dan?
Jack, do you know if there's any immediate plans for any of the mineral development at Kenai Island? Chugach Alaska Corporation, I think, has vast rights to I think the old copper mines and stuff like that down there. Is there any talk of that yet, or is it just not?
Let's repeat the question for online. So it's the questions about mineral development on Night Island.
And the short answer is no. We don't have any plans to for any other mineral development. The only subsurface work, the only development we have is the Prince William Sound Quarry project in Port Gravina. Yes. Yeah.
All right, any other questions for Jack, Catherine, or Adam? All right, thank you very much.